Hi, Jeff. It's so nice to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me here.
Beautiful. And thank you for honoring the invite. It means a whole lot. Okay, Jeff. I am so excited to have you on the show for a couple of reasons, all right? Firstly, is my interest in knowledge, all right? I believe that knowledge is the solution to getting unstuck. Knowledge is the solution to moving from a terrible situation to that comfortable situation. And secondly, I it is the audience. I believe they are definitely going to learn one or two things from your story, your insight, your experiences. And thirdly, that's me. I also believe that I am definitely going to learn one or two things from you. So for that reason, Jeff, I want us to get started with your introduction, your journey, how the journey has been so far, the challenges that you faced, and how you overcame them. And afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Jeff, over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I have been studying the meditative and martial arts for about 36 years. And one of the things that has made me so passionate about it through the years is not just the benefits that I've received from the meditative arts, but I've been running my academy here for 30 years now, and I have students that have been here for 30 years, 20 years, 25 years. There's a really great community here. We have over 500 active members here at the academy. And through the years, I've had the honor to be able to teach thousands of students coming through the academy. And one of the things that I've been so grateful to be able to witness is that many people, hundreds of times over, have come through here and seen how the meditative arts can positively influence their lives. And so, because of that, that's what's made me so passionate about trying to get the message out there and how the meditative arts can be beneficial to anybody who's taking on the practice. Within the meditative arts, there's 5 different directions of the practice. You have the athletic or the martial side, the therapeutic side, the medical side, the philosophical side, and then also the meditative or spiritual side. And so it doesn't matter what your interest is or who you are, there's ways that you can use the meditative arts to positively influence your life and to get a lot of benefit out of them by incorporating a daily practice with the various different meditation methods.
And I love that. You mentioned something that is so important. You said you're trying to get the word out there because of the solution that what you're doing is offering. And that's a statement that good leaders, good teachers say. You know, they are not just concerned about themselves only, but even others. That's a great one. I love that. Okay, Jeff, shall we get started with the questions?
That sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, so let us talk about meditation a bit. How did you come about meditating? Like, can you talk to us about how it all started?
Yes. So I got introduced to meditation in a bit of a roundabout way. I was a younger guy and I was very much into Western boxing. And one of these coaches that I was able to train with back in the day, who was a very well known coach, I was very lucky to get to spend some time with him. After only being with him for a couple weeks, he said to me one day, if you really want to be a good boxer, you should start doing meditation and Tai Chi. And, at the time I was this young kid thinking, isn't Tai Chi for older people in the park? How's that going to help me be a better boxer? And I had a lot of respect for him, and I treated everything he said to me like it was gold. And so I took on the practice, and it changed my life in so many ways. And as I already mentioned, I've witnessed it change other people's lives through the years. And so that was kind of my main turning point. And once I got linked to that and I started following that path, it's been a main driving force in everything I do.
Good. That sounds good. Okay, so can you talk to us about the three types of meditation? You know, the three types of meditation.
So there's three methods that we use, and there's many different meditation practices, right? We have movement practices, sitting practices, standing practices, we have philosophical practices, we have active practices. I mean, there's lots of ways that you can use the meditative arts in your training. However, I break it down into kind of three categories. When you're building an evolving life practice with meditation, you want to have ritual practices, active practices, and philosophical practices. And what I mean by ritual practice is that is where we would set a little bit of time aside every day to work on maybe a sitting practice or a standing meditation or a movement meditation practice, doing some Tai Chi or Qigong, something where you turn off all the video screens, you're not listening to any audios, and you're turning yourself inward and really listening to your heart and your soul and trying to get that deep inner connection. And, that's what the meditative arts is all about. And that's why it's often referred to as the internal arts, because it helps us look inward and find that rooted connection to who we really are and into that present state of mind. And so with a ritual practice, we also use, in correlation with that, active practices. And active practices are great tools to integrate into the day because they're so easy. You can use them when you're walking down the street or you're standing in line at the grocery store or sitting at your desk. They can be done in as little as 60 seconds, 2 or 3 minutes. It doesn't need to take a lot of time. And these can be things like different breathing strategies, different movement practices, anything that helps bring our awareness back into the present moment. And so now we're starting to live the practice rather than doing meditation like a hobby that we do once or twice a week. It now starts to become a way of life. And that's where we really start to reap the benefits of the practice by integrating all these things into everything we're doing every day. And then the third element would be the philosophical practices. And these could be either ritual or active based practices. And so as we start to build a life practice around the meditative arts, we pull things from all three of these areas and utilize them for whatever state we're in at the present moment, and realize that at any practice or any meditation that we're integrating into our life, it's not going to be the same 6 months, 12 months, 3 years down the road. It's always evolving. And so having a good understanding of why you're being drawn to the meditative arts or why you're deciding to take on the practice will help you figure out which practices you want to integrate into your ritual, active, and philosophical methods.
You know, your students will be so proud of you, Jeff, because you just explained this stuff very well. It was well explained. I love that. Okay, so let's say someone asks you, okay, Jeff, I have listened to you speak about the types of meditation. So, how often should I meditate? How often? What would your response be?
Every day. It should be part of who you are, and the Dalai Lama once said that everybody should meditate for 20 minutes a day. Unless you're too busy, then you should meditate for an hour. And I love that saying, in that it's supposed to be part of who we are. And you need to have time every day to reconnect with yourself. It's so often in today's society, we've got this fast paced society. We're working, we're traveling, we're in the city. We've got all of these distractions where many times we're forced to wear a mask in today's society. You're around somebody and you don't want to hurt their feelings, or you don't want to show them how something is affecting you. And you're trying to put up these barriers to not be as open as we're meant to be. Well, we get so caught up in these situations where we're forced to wear a mask, or at least to believe to be where we need to wear this mask, that eventually it starts to become who we are. And now you start going to the mirror and looking at yourself in the morning, and oftentimes you're still wearing that mask. Meditation is one of those things that helps you let go of those barriers and come back and really truly stay connected to that root of who you are, which is so important. And a lot of people are missing that and go through life and let it slip by without having that good solid connection.
So true, not there. Okay, we still have some questions here. All right. So, um, how do someone know the best meditation practice for them? You know, there are different types now. Which one works best for me? How do I know? What would your response be to that question?
A couple things. One is you want to try to find something that's going to be enjoyable to you. So that way you're drawn to want to practice every day. And when you're thinking about taking on a practice, one of the things that's extremely important is to spend a little bit of time and communicate with yourself and find out, why do you want to take on the practice? Why is it important to you? Do you want to decrease stress in your life? Are you suffering with anxiety? Do you want to improve your performance? Are you an athlete and you want to get to higher levels of peak performance, and so you're using the meditation for this? Or maybe you're an entrepreneur or a business executive and you want to be more focused and improve your awareness and your communication style. All of these are reasons, but if you have a good list of whys that really motivate you to want to do the practice and follow through and do it day to day, then tomorrow morning when the alarm goes off and you don't feel like getting up, there's a reason to get up now. You know why, you know what the bigger picture is, and so that's real important. As far as having any one thing that's a fit all for somebody new to the practice, there really isn't. If you are somebody who maybe has difficulty sitting for 20 minutes, I might recommend more of a movement practice where we're doing some qigong or maybe some tai chi or something to kind of get you in that present state a little bit easier with a little less distraction. And this is one of the things that I've heard through the years so many times over and over, is that people will say, yeah, I tried meditation, but it just didn't work for me. I couldn't quiet my mind. Well, meditation isn't meant to be this thing where we're living in nirvana for the rest of our life. Meditation teaches us how to have these distractions and bring ourselves back to center. So say, for example, you meditate for 20 minutes a day. If you get distracted 50 times during that meditation, and every time you get distracted, you use your breath, you use your posture, you use the movement if you're doing a movement practice to bring that awareness back to center. Now it's kind of like you're building that muscle and you're learning how to get off center, get this negative distraction, and come back to that center focus where we can be more present. And if you do that every day for a week, for a month, for 10 years, eventually you're going to get so good at having things hit you from off center and trying to throw you out of balance, whether it be through a conversation, something in business, or whatever it is. You're going to be able to recognize those imbalances because you're improving your awareness through the practice, so you can notice that imbalance before it gains too much negative momentum, and then you're going to be able to bring yourself back to center. And so meditation gives you the tools to be more balanced, more focused, and more present in everything you do.
So to be more balanced, more focused in everything that we do, meditation plays a vital role. I got that. Okay, Jeff, just two more questions to go. All right. I want us to talk about your book. Okay. What is the title of your book and what inspired you to write that particular book?
So it's called The Yielding Warrior. And yielding is one of those meditative and martial concepts that to me is one of the coolest concepts in the practice. And so yielding can be applied to any area in your life. And I break it down into three modes of yielding. There's physical yielding, mental yielding, and emotional yielding. Physical yielding is the easiest one to understand. And it's the idea that I push you, you push me, whoever's the bigger, stronger person with the most leverage eventually is going to push the other person over. But with yielding, instead of us trying to see who the bigger meathead is, when you push me, I get out of the way of that force. And now I can respond with less effort. So this is obvious how this is really beneficial in athletics or the combative arts, because we're often coming up against people who are bigger than stronger than us. And if we understand how to use this idea of physical yielding, it'll allow us to get the advantage on people who are bigger and stronger than us. Now, once we start down this path, a lot of things have to come into play in order for us to be good at physical yielding. We have to be well rooted. The lower part of our body needs to be strong and flexible so you can change your central equilibrium without getting tight. The body has to be relaxed, the breath has to be calm, and the mind has to be present. Now, once you start to recognize those things inside yourself, we also start to see those things a little more clearly in other people. And this is where it really starts to become interesting, because now not only do I see how I can maintain balance within myself, I have the power to lead other people to be a little bit more balanced and stable in their actions. So say, for example, I say something and it unsettles you, and I pick up on it right from the first part of the imbalance. Well, if I'm paying attention to that, it's a lot easier to adjust the conversation and keep us in a harmonious place than if I'm not paying attention to that. And pretty soon I'm so far off track, you want to knock me upside the head. And so learning how to use yielding in all of our interactions is extremely powerful. One, you're just being more considerate, which we all should do every day and in everything we do anyway. And two, it allows you to be strategic so you can guide conversations into a positive, mutually beneficial direction. Now, this is important in business and sales and negotiations and our relationships. I mean, there's so many ways that we can apply this. Then there's the idea of emotional yielding. And emotional yielding is very much like mental yielding, but it's with your own interpersonal conflicts. So think about when something happens to us, oftentimes we'll respond and we'll go down this path. And we might get an hour, a day, a week down that road and realize maybe that wasn't the best choice. But with yielding, if we could have taken a step back and been a little bit more present, we maybe would have been able to make a more educated decision, which will save us a lot of heartache on the other side. And I've been explaining this idea of yielding for years here, running this academy for 30 years. And one of the most common things I'll hear people say is that, that makes a lot of sense. I understand. I use yielding all the time. And while I would agree, I think everybody uses yielding to some degree all the time. However, it's kind of like if you or I were to walk into a crime scene with a detective who's been on the job for 30 years, I guarantee you he would see things about that series of events and the timelines that I know at least I would have no clue of. This is what the meditative arts does, is it helps us see things inside of ourselves in other people that most people will go through their whole lives never being able to be aware of and read these things because they don't have a meditative practice.
That sounds like a powerful book, I tell you. So to bring this to an end, Jeff, what would you like to leave the audience with? Like a final thought. And to those ones who would like to learn more about you, what you do, and how to get your book, how can that be possible?
Sure. So if you go to theyieldingwarrior.com/book, you can order a free copy of my book, just pay for shipping and handling. And also on theyieldingwarrior.com, you can get access to my online program that will teach you how to build a meditative program. and as well as my teacher training program. If you own a yoga studio or a martial arts studio, or maybe you're a life coach and you want to learn how to give these practices down to your clients, or maybe build a second pillar of your business, this is something you can use that for. The thing that I'd like to leave you with to think about is there's a lot of distractions out there. It's easy to go onto YouTube and find a million videos on different meditation approaches. Life is short and time is valuable. Find yourself a guide, and it doesn't have to be me, but find somebody that can help point you on the right direction, that can save you time. I've literally had people come into the academy that have been practicing the meditative arts for over 10 years, and they're as much a beginner as some of the people that have been training here for 6 months to a year. And our lives are short, our time is valuable. Find somebody to help point you in the right direction. You'll get so much more out of the practice and save yourself a lot of time as well.
Great advice. I love that. That's a great one. So that's gonna be the end of the show, Jeff. Thank you for coming and thank you for, sharing your amazing insight. It's incredible stuff with us. It means a whole lot, man. Thank you so very much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.